This is Vicky, also known as DragonflySoars. It is May 20th, Friday, and a little after 5:30. So, I think I have a full agenda today. Hopefully the camera's kind of back where it belongs. I didn't actually move the table. I stuck a box underneath. So a semi-ironic thing is that I actually bought a new webcam so that I could record on my computer instead of my iPad. But I haven't bothered trying to hook it up, so it's actually the webcam box that the iPad is propped up on. Buy is a loose term. When we went to Best Buy, we bought the washer and dryer, and then I paid them off in full right after we bought them. But because we used Best Buy credit, we got $200 in credit rewards back, and then they were going to expire. And we actually wandered around Best Buy trying to figure out what to do. It took us forever. We're like, you know what? If it was like $15, we probably could have spent it easily. But because it was a significant amount, we both felt like we should use it for something that we needed, or that was cool, or, you know, something good. And we couldn't decide on anything. So finally we split it, and he bought some headphones for gaming, and I got a new webcam. So my thought is that if I can record onto the computer, maybe it would be a little less processing time. But at the same time, I'm so used to being able to do everything on the iPad, and I can take pictures with my phone all week, feed them to the iPad. I know how to build everything in the studio. So I haven't decided if I want to make that switch yet. So right now, the iPad is sitting on top of the webcam box. All right, speaking of purchases, I'm sorry, I know this is a crafting podcast, but I bought a new car. So I'm very excited about my new car. I will actually have a little mini video and photos. I'll put them at the end so that I'm not like totally, you know, distracting. But we did spend 5 hours at the dealership yesterday, and it was not like we were haggling or spending a lot of time. It really came down to, we spent probably 20 minutes kind of doing a get to know you. What do you like about your old car? What do you dislike about your old car? Then we did 2 test drives. I test drove the Honda Accord and the Honda, the Accord. I keep getting things mixed up. And then the Honda Civic. Both of those test drives were about 25 minutes each. And then I decided I liked the Civic. I actually have a Civic now. I have a 2007 Civic. So test drove 2 2014s. So a Honda 2014 Civic and a 2014 Accord. Decided I really liked the Civic better. It was more comfortable to me. After driving the Accord for 25 minutes, my legs were hurting. The pedals were a little tougher. It wasn't quite as comfortable. My knee was aching. My ankle was hurting. I'm like, you know what? And maybe if it had been my car and I, you know, spent more time adjusting the seat or something, maybe I could have adjusted it, but it just didn't feel comfortable. So, and then we spent, you know, once I picked the Civic, we spent probably another 15-20 minutes talking about the technology in the car, and then we spent another 20 minutes getting together all the data for the credit report. Then they spent 15 minutes running the credit report and kind of giving some real high-level options, which was kind of nice. They gave you your high-level options. This is basically what you can expect to pay. Which one do you want us to chase? And actually, those were much higher than the final financing. It was kind of like they gave you worst case scenario to begin with, and all it was this is how much there's like no haggling anymore. Best friend was saying, I'm sorry, I'm doing all the car talking now, but I'm really excited about my new car. Best friend was saying the last couple times he bought a car, they told him there really is no haggling anymore because everybody has a smartphone. Everybody can look up on their phone and say the dealership down the street has the exact same car for this. You know, there's just no point. I mean, so it pretty much was, this is the price. And I knew how much I had for a down payment, and I knew how much I wanted to extend the loan for, and that's what we went for. So yeah, they were like 15 minutes of them, you know, saying, these are your financing, your basic financing options. Do you want to continue? And then we just had to wait our turn more than anything else, because there was a couple other people there also buying cars, and there was one finance guy. So you were just waiting because he was running the other people. And when he got to us, they let us know. And then he was basically spending probably 20-30 minutes himself punching in information and, you know, looking for the best financing. And I get alerts from TransUnion to anytime anybody touches my credit report. So I got like 12 credit report alerts, like boom, 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 because he was, you know, just having everybody, you know, they were just running it against everything to get us the best rate and the lowest monthly payment, which is all good. Oh yeah, and before that, there was another 20 minutes talking to the insurance company to make sure that they would insure the car, because that had to go to the finance company. So anyway, and then once he had all that run, you know, we went in there and it was like 15-20 minutes of signing papers. I mean, and it was him explaining, this paper says you are over 18 and you are eligible to buy a car. This paper says that you looked at the stuff on the window. These are all the things we checked off. And then a few, you know, a little bit for getting new plates registered in my name, and really all the time, except for the time waiting for him to process other people, which was probably about an hour there. Everything else was pretty well accounted for. It was just a long process. It wasn't like they were trying to draw it out or do anything. It just was what it was. But we didn't get done there until 10. We ended up eating at Denny's because they were one of the only things open. And we got home a little after 11. So I didn't get to really play with my car. So today I got home and set up some speed dials in the car, because even though this Civic is the lowest model of the 2014s, it is way above my 2007. It has rear view camera and hands-free talk and Bluetooth, and I mean, it's not everything, but it's still an upgrade from my old one. So, and I had a decent down payment, and the payments are where I can afford them, so it's all good. All right, you know what? Since I talked about the car, I'm just going to put the car pictures here. This is my new baby, my Honda Civic 2014. They list it as a Kona coffee color, which would be brown. Best friend describes it as graphite, which is a better description. It's a dark silvery gray. Trying to film without actually, you know, showing my license plate or anything. It is light gray on the inside. It's got the Econo Boost, which helps with the gas mileage. I don't know what else to say about it. I love the inside. It has hands-free dialing, supposedly. I just spent several minutes trying to get it set up, and I think I figured it out. It comes with mats that are like WeatherTech, which is good because I would have been ordering WeatherTech mats anyway. But it's a very pretty car, so I'm very happy with it. It seems to be good so far. I've had it for a whole less than 24 hours. All right. Sorry that I started off with something totally non-crafting, but it was a big deal. Last time I bought a car was 2008, so and in case anybody's wondering, I didn't trade in because the other car is going to my son. Basically, that's his graduation present, so he can get back and forth to college. All right, stuff to show you. I have yarny stuff, so I know I haven't been knitting. Sorry. The hand is better, not 100%, but I went to the chiropractor on Monday and asked if she would look at my hand. And she actually knew exactly what I had done. She's like, oh yeah, I do that too. She goes, I know better, but she's like, is it this joint right here? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yep. So she adjusted everything from the shoulder down through my hand, adjusted the joint. And now this does not hurt. It's weaker than it was, but it is not in pain. So now I have to do strength training exercises, and the stuff she was telling me and the stuff the physical therapist was telling me, because I saw him on Wednesday, exactly identical. I mean, they were the same type of exercises for the hands and for the shoulder blades, because apparently most of us who work in an office, our shoulder blades tend to get weak because we're sitting at a desk, we roll our shoulders forward. Because our shoulders aren't where they're supposed to be, then that starts to affect how your elbow has to function, which affects your wrist, which affects down your hand. And so they both gave me basically identical instructions. I mean, I saw her and she like talked to the physical therapist about these things. And when I went there, he's like, well, look at that. I wrote down basically those same exercises, except for one was slightly more advanced than what she had. I mean, they had the exact same notes. So I was glad they were in sync. And nobody was insulted by me going to the other one. It doesn't happen as much, but it used to be that if you went to the chiropractor, some people looked down upon it. But no, this guy's good. And actually, it doesn't happen as much anymore. So, I have permission to knit carefully. He said really he would like it if, the physical therapist said really he would like it if I would still hold off on knitting for a couple weeks. And I must have looked sad because he said, have you been good? And I said, really, I've been good. And he's like, okay, then be smart. He's like, knit and then take a big break. If it starts to be sore, then that means you went too long. Okay. Which I'm glad, because the Heidi mystery shawl started. They sent out the gauge swatch instructions last week. I did not do the gauge swatch. And then they sent out clue 1 came this morning. I'm just going to start knitting. And normally I always do the gauge swatch for the shawls, because they are really careful on how much yardage they give you. But I don't have to worry about any transitions because I'm not changing skeins, so that's not a deal because I didn't get a gradient this time. And I have used this yarn before. I used it for my Wind in the Willows shawl, and I compared the gauge swatch I got with that one to the gauge swatch requirements with this one, and I should be just fine. So I'm not gonna do a gauge swatch. So I have used this yarn actually a few times. I used it for Even Star. I used it for Wind in the Willows. I think I used it for something else. But anyway, the Wind in the Willows gauge swatch I could compare to the gauge swatch instructions for this one. So I am planning to start this weekend. Now, whether or not I can actually finish the clue will totally depend on how I feel when I'm knitting. I also, in the mail, I told you that I ordered one more skein of yarn from Sock Bunny Studios. Now, so this is the yarn I got from Knitopia. This was the Knitopia colorway that everybody got. And then I won this kit of yarns to go with it. And then I wanted to order one more so I'd feel a little more comfortable on yardage for a sweater. And this was on her website. And she said it's the same base, and it certainly looks like the same base. And look how good that looks with it. So now I have, they're 438 yards each, and I have 6 skeins. So I've got, well, what, 2,500, I think? Does that make sense? 6 times 430, yeah, it has to be. 6 times 400 would be 2,400, so more than that. So I have a picture of these all lined up. All right, now with that, I told you that she was going to send a skein of yarn to give away, and I didn't know what it was. Well, it turns out it is this very pretty orange. It is called Sunrise. It is Miracle. It is her Miracle base. Fingering weight. 80% BFL, 20% nylon. It seems to be tightly spun, so it should work well for socks. And, sorry. So that is Sunrise. I have a picture of this one too. So all week I've been kind of upset with spring. It is so pretty in our neighborhood. There are so many flowering trees. They're gorgeous. All the other trees are budding. I want to spend time outside. It finally feels nice. It finally looks pretty. And instead, my allergies were running amok earlier this week. There was a couple days where I was just like, nature hates me. I can't breathe. Pretty sure nature still hates me, but I got some better medicine. I did discover that Sudafed PE does nothing for me. I need the real Sudafed. So actually I got the Mucinex D because it has the expectorant, which kind of thins things out, and the decongestant combined. So that with my allergy medicine, much better. Although my throat is sore from all the draining now. So I was sitting there going, I like spring and I hate spring. Which leads me to the contest for this. I would like you to tell me what is your favorite season and what don't you like about it. So, for example, my favorite season really is spring. I think it's beautiful. It just doesn't like me. But like for some people, fall with all the pretty colors is really gorgeous. And then there's the part of fall where everything dies. So whatever it is, tell me your favorite season and also what you don't like about it. And I will start a thread. And I realize it's a very strange prompt, but it's my contest. And I think this is a very pretty orange, and it made me think of, sunshiny stuff. Best friend would say what he doesn't like about spring is all the dandelions in his yard. He's really annoyed with them. Let's run that for 2 episodes. So I won't draw the next episode. I will draw the episode after that. All right. Next thing. All right. I forgot to get in touch with Crow Julie about the purple hats, but I went to the store when I was visiting Mom and Son, because we went to see Sister Act, which was very good. My son, his girlfriend, and I went to go see Sister Act at the Fireside Dinner Theater. And on the way there, I've been working on the website some for Wisconsin Craft Market. And honestly, it doesn't take a whole lot of maintenance, but they needed somebody, who could take care of it when it does need to be updated. And I did some cleanup and redid some stuff, and so my mom's boss said he was going to pay me in yarn. Well, he was going to pay me in this yarn, which I'll talk about in a second, but then I was going to buy purple yarn, and I had it all set, and he was going to ring it up, and then he said, never mind, here, and he gave it to me for free. He also knew what the purple yarn was for, and I think that might have had something to do with it, because he knew it was for charity knitting. So I bought the 5 colors of purple yarn in Simply Soft. I like Simply Soft. And I'm going to crochet hats when I can crochet. And crocheting is harder on my hand than knitting. So when I can crochet, I will crochet purple hats until the purple is gone. I do not have pictures of that. It's Simply Soft. It is what it is. I just realized I don't have pictures of this either. This I will take a picture of and insert. All right, this is Hedgehog Fibers. It is made in Ireland. This is their sock base, which is misleading. Their sock base is 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. However, it is not tightly spun. And they must have at some point realized that they needed something better for socks, because they have another base called Twist Sock that is good for socks. And this is even from their website. They say if you want to make socks, they recommend the Twist Sock, not the sock. They probably should just rename this one and just to something else. And it's just a fingering weight yarn. It's recommended for cowls and shawls and whatever. Anyway, this colorway is Malice. And I just really like the colors. It was one that actually, like, all the colors were beautiful. I mean, they're pretty anyway on the website. I'll link them in the show notes. But they were so gorgeous in person. So if you are anywhere near Madison and you stop at Wisconsin Craft Market in Westgate, go take a look. But this one is maroons and blues and browns. So really pretty. Hedgehog Fibers. So this was a present to me as a thank you. And like I said, he decided to just give me the purple yarn too. So, and I do think, like I said, I was all set to pay for that. But I think part of it also was the fact that he knew it was for charity knitting, even though he did not say that. Let me pause and I will assume I got a picture of those. All right. I'm trying to think what else I wanted. Other knitting stuff. I believe there are still openings for the retreat in Pentwater, Michigan in September. So if you're interested in that, there is a link in the show notes about it. But you can go to the Bobbins Up group on Ravelry and learn more about it. And also, the Knit Girls are doing Stash Dash. Now, they do this every year, and normally I don't really pay attention because a lot of people, in order to do Stash Dash, you want to do, say, a 5K. Well, that would be 5,000 meters of knitting or spinning or weaving. Knitting, spinning, weaving, crochet. And what some people do, they're very cheater friendly. So they will actually work on a project and stop and then finish it the last, right when Stash Dash starts, so they can count the yardage. I've never been very good at that, because if I'm near finishing something, I want it done. So I'm not good at saving anything. However, because I haven't been able to knit, I do have the Martina Bem shawl that could count. That's like 600 yards. And the dates, if I kept up with this shawl, the dates are actually good for doing this shawl if I can get the last clue done just in time. Because the last clue will come out August 19th and Stash Dash ends August 21st. So depending on how bad, sometimes the last clue is like the worst clue because it includes the bind off. But this would be 1,200 yards plus anything else I work on. This year they are doing a 5K, a 7K, a 10K, 15K, something like that. But you have to pick only one, and then you can post in that one, and that can be your goal. And you can't change once you pick. So, the Knit Girls, the Geeky Girls Knit, they actually are putting together a chatter thread about Stash Dash, and in their thread, I think it's a chatter thread. Maybe it's just a regular, or maybe it's a Stash Dash thread. I don't remember. Go check them out. But they actually have where you can track your yardage as you're going. So then when you get close, then you can figure out which one you want to enter in for Stash Dash based on how much yardage you got done during the time period. I don't remember the exact dates. The only reason I remember the end date is because at first it was listed as August 13th, and I was really sad because the last glue wasn't coming out till the 19th. And then the Knit Girls just did not a mini episode that wasn't really an episode. It was all about Stash Dash with all the rules and regulations. Actually, it was mostly just explaining. And they said the 21st, and I was all excited because that was after the 19th. I don't remember when it starts though. Very soon, if not already. I think it starts this weekend, but I'm not positive. So check them out. I will link in the show notes. But if you want to participate, what I was going to say is, of course, you can participate and put them in Stash Dash. You can put them in the Geeky Girls, and you can put them in the Fiber and You for DragonflySoars, because we are, you can poly dip all you want. You know, as long as you're following the rules for each group. I was thinking, because we've been doing more cross stitch, that I do allow cross stitch as an entry because I cross stitch, that I will give people the choice. Right now we do $15 worth of Ravelry patterns. 2 of those as prizes a month, and one $25 Etsy gift card. Well, the Etsy gift card is good for anybody, whether you knit, crochet, cross stitch. But I will start giving people a choice if they want Ravelry patterns or $15 from 123stitch.com. They seem to have a lot of different stitching stuff, and they have gift certificates that are really easy to order right online, which of course is part of what I like. So yeah. So that will start being a choice, not for May, but starting in June. Now, I have not figured out any possible way for people who only watch YouTube and aren't on Ravelry to enter, because they have no way of sharing their what they're doing each month. And I don't have a Facebook group, and I don't really want to start a Facebook group, and I don't want to have contests in 2 places. And frankly, the Ravelry group has been around for over 5 years now. So, but of course, people can join Ravelry for free. If you only cross stitch, I don't know if you want to join Ravelry, but you are more than welcome to join Ravelry. But it is the only place that really makes sense for me to keep doing this. But I will, because there are also a lot of people have said that, you know, they've been inspired to start cross-stitching again, or pick it up for the first time. We'll give opportunities between Ravelry patterns or 123stitch for the $15 price. All right. This is just something I wanted to touch on quick. Last episode, I mentioned that I didn't think this was a magazine. I thought it just looked more like a book. Well, I missed the whole, right here, it says issue 95. If I had realized that, I would have realized that obviously it is subscription based. However, from what I can tell, it is based out of it is based out of South Australia. So while you can go online and get a subscription, the subscription's actually pretty pricey because of the shipping. So I think this is one that I'm just going to keep kind of watching for, and when I go to Joann's. And I did think the nice thing is here it says what the next publication is going to be. So in this case, this one is the March 95, and it says that the next publication is mid-July. So I thought that was, I looked more into it when I was trying to find links and things like that. So I do like it. And you can actually order past issues online as well. And if I knew for sure, like there was a specific issue I wanted, I would think about, you know, ordering and just having a bunch shipped. But like I said, the subscription got a little pricey because of the constant shipping. So it was still the same $14.99 list price plus shipping, whereas at Joann Fabrics I only paid the $14.99. All right, but I did want to tell you that I had figured that out. All right, so I had shown you a while back that I had gotten a pattern from Brooks Books Publishing that was the Santa in Oz, where the Wizard of Oz is also Santa and all the other characters are like toys. Well, of course, now I'm on their mailing list, and they had a day they were doing spring cleaning and everything was 50% off. And so I went to look and I bought patterns because I was like, they're pretty. I also bought perforated paper because the pack was already discounted and then it was 50% off. And that way I had plenty to choose from for the projects in the future without having to worry about it. And, you know, even with Mom's discount, 50% is good. So, this first one, all of these are Spirit of, so they're basically angels. This one is Spirit of Evergreen. She's a Christmas angel. And I just thought she was gorgeous. It does say there is an extra chart included if you want to stitch on fabric. I have not looked at that. I have not opened these. So I was just realizing that there's some down here that are really tiny. They're showing you and I'm like, ooh, those are pretty. This one is Spirit of America. To anybody that doesn't know, my birthday is 4th of July. So even though I don't get rah-rah patriotic, every now and then I like a little bit. And this one, I like the Betsy Ross look. Then we have Spirit of Knitting. Well, plus she's got the cutest little sheepy. So, and she's got socks and a mitten and a little basket. So, and her wings are made to look like knitting. So, whereas like hers look like a colonial quilt, and hers have like pine tree things on them. So I just thought it was cool. And then this one, because not only do I knit, but I cross stitch, obviously. This one is the Spirit of Cross Stitch angel, and she's got her little hoop and her little scissors, and she got a puppy dog down there, and her wings look like a sampler. I did like and consider, there's one, just barely see here, that's the Spirit of Quilting, but she's got a cute little kitty cat. I like this cute little kitty cat, but I don't quilt at all, not even a little bit. So I didn't get that one, and it seemed, for a little while I was like, oh, but I could trade and put the kitty cat next to the cross stitcher, but I didn't, because, you know, even they were 50% off, but it still seemed silly. All right, so I showed you Pumpkin Passport last time. I will honestly say I have not done a whole lot, especially because of the restrictions on my hand. So, but I have been slowly gridding my fabric. So I have all the lines done one direction, and then I'm working on the back and forth. I'm actually meeting someone tomorrow. One of my friends. We're supposed to be meeting for knitting and coffee, except for if I can't knit, I may just work on this if I can spread it out enough. However, just so you know, you see these pins here. Well, when I got down to the bottom, there was 3 places where the lines no longer lined up. Because what I was doing was visually, instead of counting 8 each time, I was visually lining up my lines. Well, at different spots, these spots, I missed. And then, because I missed, that error just carried down the rest of the row. I was really upset when I figured it out. And I would have had to rip back all the way from here to here. Tigger, you're kind of in the way. I would have had to rip back from here to here. And I really didn't want to. And I was looking at it going, you know what? Even if I have to, as long as I make the other way go, I'll still be able to tell where the 10 by 10 square is. So I marked them just so I am extra careful with those. But it should be good. Now, Paul, who was Polly Knits, asked me last week how I was gridding, and he asked if I was using a pen. I'm not using a pen. I am using silky thread, sulky, S-U-L-K-Y. So I actually recorded a little bit of the gridding. Hi, I thought I would talk about how I'm doing my gridding. I had somebody ask me if I was using a pen to mark the grids. No, I'm actually using something called silky hollow shimmer thread. It is basically a plastic thread. I can get a hold of it. I followed a tutorial that I will post a link to by Jennifer, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she did a really great video on how to grid in this manner, going over 8 and under 2, and then when you go the other way, you stitch the 8 stitches, you do over 8 stitches here, and it makes the little grid pattern. She recommended Sulky Sliver. I have some of that also, but it seems to be pretty much the same stuff. It just doesn't sparkle, and I like the additional colors. I did mark my center line this direction in a blue. That was just for my own sense, so I would know where the center is, because I know I want to start this particular stitching in the center, so I wanted to know where that was. I don't have the center going the other direction yet. I'll do that when I start doing the other lines. Anyway, that's it. Okay, that's pretty much everything I have to show you. I have a couple things I was going to tell you about. One, just because it's cool, we have a cousin who I have never met. I do not know. He could not pick me out of a lineup, but he has met Tiff, and Tiff knows his mom. Anyway, our cousin Alden is going to be the new young Han Solo. They're making a new Star Wars movie set in the past that is talking about the younger days of Han Solo, and Alden is going to be the new Han Solo. So it's one of those things where it's not like I have a big claim to fame now, but we just think it's cool. We're proud of him. So he was also in Hail Caesar, which, from what I heard from friends, he did really well in. They weren't too sure about the rest of the movie. So, but it'll be interesting. Han Solo is such a icon that it will be interesting to see how he does, because you can't be too Han Solo or you won't be making it your own, and you'll look like you're just mimicking. You have to make, even Harrison Ford said he needs to make it his own. But anyway, it's just really cool. And our dad and Alden's mom are first cousins. So their dads were brothers. So we're second cousins. So, but like I said, he could not pick me out of a lineup. Never met him. I've met his mother. Never met him. But his stepdad was Tiff's orthodontist. I mean, we have a little bit of connection, but not much. But we just thought it was cool. So, I also had a question about, also from Paul, asking about a couple, floss tube videos. And the ones that came to mind, Stitchy Ryan, I just really like him. I don't know what it is about him. I just, he's one of the ones that I try and catch up on right away. Coffee Stitcher's pretty good, and he really likes Wizard of Oz, and I like Wizard of Oz, so that's just kind of fun. Turbo Knitter, I actually has apparently had a knitting podcast for a while, but I found him because of his Floss Tube podcast. So I actually watch both now. Sadie of Yarnivore does two. She does a knitting one and a floss tube one. I've said I'm not splitting mine. Everybody, this is just me. It's whatever I got done this week, or whatever I have to show. And then I believe her name is Samantha. Hopefully I'm getting that right. She does the Yarn Reader podcast, and she actually just introduced herself in our thread, so I saw hers. And now hers isn't cross stitch, but she not only does she do yarn stuff, but seems like she touches on a lot of other things. So I just thought she's going to be interesting to watch. There's the Queen of Starch, there's Dash Queen, there's some other ones that I really like. Some of them are long, and then I have this trouble keeping up. So I've kind of had to pick and choose where I'm going to spend my time. Here's Karen of Around the Twist, who has been around forever, and she does knitting and cross stitch. She's actually one of the reasons I got the pumpkin passport. And she never split hers up. It is what it is. She has a pokey things section that's for cross stitch. Eclectic something I take care of. There's one girl named Catherine who I just like watching her, and I can't think what her channel is. And partially I like watching her because she seems like she has kind of a similar life to me, like a similar career. She does a lot more travel, but she's just, she amuses me. Evergreen Needle. But, some of them I just can't keep up on. But I always watch Stitchy Ryan. I always watch Turbo Knitter now. Always watch Karen. I watch Sadie's floss tube, but I usually don't watch her knitting one. No real reason. Just, it's kind of the way it ended up. Yeah. So, I think that's all. I was going to tell you something about my needlework lap stand, but I will actually save that for another time. Basically, I had a problem, but really good customer service, and I'm very happy with the people. So, but I'll explain that more another time. That's all. I'm looking around, making sure I didn't forget anything, but no, that's everything. So I will talk to you guys all next time. Bye now.